was that like meeting recap stuff? Was that in Loop or was that in Teams Premium?
I think they talked about it with Loop, but you know what? Now that you're saying it that way, I love how you just posed that as a question as if I didn't screw that up. Yeah, the person who told us about that did say it was Teams Premium. So maybe that'll be Teams Premium. Well, welcome. It is the 17th of May, 2023, and today we are talking about we are going to cover a Microsoft 365 conference announcement recap. Of the Sympraxians here today, you have Derek, myself, and Mark. The other two Yahoos are slacking, so that's fine, whatever. Emily is actually off to start her trip for ECS, and I believe Todd is in Antwerp, Belgium at Thrive. So
Techorama.
That's such an interesting name for a conference. All right, so our agenda today, we're gonna start off with the artificial intelligence and Copilot recap, which pretty much was the highlight of the conference. The person who was there and the person who sat through the keynote, that was definitely the highlight of the session. We'll talk about the new brand center. We'll talk about the new SharePoint Start experience, and I'm sure we all have something to say about that. We'll talk about sending news as full fidelity emails, improvements to personal files. So that's the OneDrive area. We have a lot of updates there. And then some updates to lists, which may or may not make you happy or sad. All right, Copilot for Microsoft 365. So again, this was a huge section of the keynote talking about Copilot. I think this is something that is going to be rolling out slowly, but from what we definitely heard, this is something that costs Microsoft a huge amount of money to support, and so this is going to be one of their first paid previews. So if you want to get in on the early adoption of this Copilot solution, it's invitation only, it's paid preview, and they only are opening up to 600 customers worldwide to get going. And I suspect, based on the level of interest, that those 600 slots are probably already gone. We will see, though, semantic index for Copilot, meaning that search is getting more powerful, and it will be getting more powerful from Copilot, and that capability is going to roll into the E3 and E5 licenses. So that is a way where they are actually giving away some of this, and I say giving away, meaning like enhancing your licenses already if you have an E3 or E5. With some of the Copilot goodness. So that is cool. I mean, we'll see what that really looks like in real life, but that is an enhancement that's coming. All the other apps that they talked through, Whiteboard, PowerPoint, Outlook, OneNote, Loop, and Viva Learning. And I have to say the demos were awesome, especially one that I have heard from a Microsoft employee who is in the preview, that he had gone away for a week and there was a bunch of meeting recordings that he had. And one of the things, I believe it's the Loop one, can do is you can basically ask Loop to summarize all the meetings that you missed, and it will go through the meeting transcriptions and in context give you a summary. So in that people are talking about things, it will augment that with information from your organization. So that's what they mean by semantic. And so they sort of take the intelligence that like a chat GPT can do when it's summarizing, add the intelligence of your organization and give you a summary of like the meetings you missed. And it was pretty fascinating to hear and I see. So, you know, we'll see what that ends up being. But so that is what we've got.
Not picking on your spelling, but because I'm confused, is it semantic? SEMAN? It's not the
I copy pasted, so that's
is it a brand
not
name?
My spelling. I don't know. That's what they called it. I copy pasted that from the slide.
Because there was Symantec. I know there was Symantec, which made like virus scanning software. So I was confused.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Julie,
semantic
was that
instead.
was that like meeting recap stuff? Was that in Loop or was that in Teams Premium?
I think they talked about it with Loop, but you know what? Now that you're saying it that way, I love how you just posed that as a question as if I didn't screw that up. Yeah, the person who told us about that did say it was Teams Premium. So maybe that'll be Teams Premium. I may have just screwed that up, but I thought I saw it in Loop too in the announcement that we linked to. So
Okay.
Yeah.
at any rate.
I think
It's been a
we'll
tough
see
week.
though.
I've been prepping
Yeah.
for ECS. I'm a little behind.
I
Bull's
think
fun.
the interesting thing about all of these Copilot announcements is I think they're going to cost a lot of money. And
I do
they're,
too.
you know, everybody looks at them and says, "Whoa, that's just like game changing." But I think you're going to have to pay for that game changing. We don't know that yet.
Yeah.
We don't know the
No,
pricing.
you are absolutely going to have to pay for it. They
Yeah.
have not announced how much that is. And the E7 thing, in the Q&A with like the Ask Microsoft Anything. So Greg has posted in the chat about, you know, wonder if they're going to create an E7 that'll include Copilot. The vibe I got in the Ask Microsoft Anything was sort of that no, that wasn't going to be a way they're going to do it. They're just going to have all these premium features in all of these different apps, and they're going to be sort of like a sushi menu type of, you know, pick and choose which pieces you want. That's the vibe I'm getting. But you know, who the heck knows what they'll finally decide on.
Right.
All right, that's Copilot. SharePoint sites and pages productivity roadmap. I guess I'll tackle this one. So sites and pages, we're seeing in the next few months this news and Outlook. So that is a essentially that a SharePoint page can be mailed full fidelity to users in their email box. So one of the things about that is that summary is sort of point in time. So it's like an HTML rendering of that news item that was posted. And so if the news item changes, the users don't see that update. So you have to definitely think through when this is a good thing to use and when it's not a good thing to use. But it is something that's coming. And I think there's an argument to be made in sort of both directions that, you know, because it doesn't update, that is a point of disconnection that could be a problem. But at the other side of that, it's sort of that cognitive load, switching apps all the time kind of thing, meeting your users where they are, essentially being able to give them the full email when they're in email to just read the whole news item without having to click a link to leave and go to some other app is maybe a positive thing. So I think, you know, that could be taken either way. Coming in September to October timeframe is this new SharePoint Start experience. And I think that is going to be interesting. What we're seeing, that's on the roadmap for September. There is some blog posts out there about it now, but with some visualizations in it. But essentially what it looks like is that the Start experience on, you know, so right now that SharePoint Start experience is sort of like, you know, what news is there, and so the book pin sites you have and your recent documents or whatever, and that SharePoint Start experience is going to sort of shift to be more of a creator experience. So start creating a page, start creating a list, start creating. Eric?
Yeah, well, all of what you're talking about is on the next slide. So
it's Brand Center is what I see on the next slide.
Oh,
so
yeah, well, and then the one after that is the SharePoint Start.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to switch to that, I can talk about Brand Center in the new SharePoint Start page.
Okay, go ahead.
Cool. So one of the big announcements came really around user experience, user interface. It's been a while since we've had a really good update to the UI for SharePoint. And so that said, I'm using the header of Brand Center. The Brand Center is actually a thing, but there's a lot of UI changes that are coming up over the next 6 to 12 months. The first being, and this is rolling out now, is that there are a couple of new themes that are rolling out. One that's black and one that's cerulean blue. There's also going to be new updates on how to customize those themes. So you can come in and change some of your primary colors with that theming. As you can see in this image on the right, we're also getting new templates. So this is a new employee network template for an LGBTQI plus community. They're going to keep rolling these out throughout the year. Julie, if you can advance one. The other thing that we're getting is the actual brand center itself. And this is, a lot of folks have been asking for this in various ways or shapes over the last many years, but this is going to end up being a central location to manage the brand. So logos, icons, fonts, imagery, theming. This is going to live inside the M365 Admin Center. So it's going to take it up out of SharePoint and put it directly in the Admin Center. So this is going to cross all of the different applications, which is great. The stuff you're seeing on this screen is going to be rolled out in bits and pieces. So, we're not going to launch all on day one with all of this stuff. They are talking about, as part of this brand center, being able to bring your custom fonts to the site. They're not saying you're going to be able to customize all the fonts like we used to back in the old days, but you will be able to customize certain pieces of the fonts and the typography. You'll be able to update some of the colors, as well as create a centralized location for all your logos. I think this is a little more aspirational on the left-hand side, where you have where you can have a portfolio of brands. But I think that is their goal, right? So if you have one company, especially if you're a really large company that has a lot of different conglomerates, or is a conglomerate that has a lot of different subsidiaries, they may have their own brand and their own set of logos and their own set of colors, and you can still manage this from all that from one central location. The other thing that's coming, which is neat, but this is sort of like is going to be into next year, is design ideas for SharePoint pages. So if you've worked in PowerPoint recently, you'll notice there's a design section, and in the design section, it'll give you ideas and suggestions on how to make your slides more engaging. We're going to get something similar for SharePoint pages, and that's still in the working session, but it is on the roadmap. And right now it's slated for sort of sometime in early 2024, but we'll see.
Casper brought up about a new admin role, and I think I heard them say that there would be a new admin role for the brand center, just to sort of say that out loud.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the initial story, though, was that the brand center would be in the Microsoft 365 admin center, not the SharePoint admin center, and that there wouldn't be a separate role. So I think we're all making
that's
the point.
not what I heard.
We're all I think they're already changing their opinion on that, because clearly the people who do branding are not the same people who manage domains.
Yeah. I heard a new role. So
yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see as it rolls itself out.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. I think I had something else to say, but I forgot. So do you want me to move forward?
Yeah.
All right. Let me do that.
The next thing we're going to talk about is the new SharePoint Start experience. This one's interesting, to say the least. Right now, to get to the SharePoint Start page, this is where you go currently when you click the SharePoint button in the Suite bar. And it's really focused, it's a user-focused experience where it's about news, it's about my frequented sites, it's about my favorited sites. They're switching it over now to a more content creation specific model. So you can see up here at the top, you've got this whole section on create new. You'll be able to create new sites and new pages directly from here. You can see some aspirational templates that they want to start creating. These are both SharePoint page templates as well as site templates. And then the metrics that you're and the content you're getting below is really around content access. I can't see the chat, so I'm not sure if something fun is happening or not.
No, I'm reacting to Casper's facial expressions was pretty much my facial expression. So I'm right there with you, my friend. Right there with you.
This is a really big shift for this particular page. And they're looking to start rolling this out in September, we include, because it's coming up so quick, we included a link to the roadmap. Yeah, I mean,
I think we have lots of concerns about people creating things that then are not attached to any place, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, I create a page, it ends up in, we don't know, OneDrive probably, and then you start sharing that page with people, and then you leave the company, and that page is really important. I'm dealing with that in a migration from 2010 where people kept all their pages in my site, and it doesn't make sense. It's not content centralization. So as Simpraxians, we have concerns about this approach, but the ship is already steaming toward port, and we're going to have to see how it plays out. I think the enablement of creators, that's an awesome concept, but then sort of how does it play through is the part that's gonna be an interesting governance challenge, let's say.
Yeah, I think it runs on the premise that everyone in SharePoint is a creator, and depending on how you're using SharePoint will depend on whether or not those users are creators. And I know in a lot of the work we do, most folks, it is a one-to-many relationship where the HR team is creating content and everyone is consuming it versus everyone creating and sharing. So
we were joking the other day as we were talking this through, okay, I'm going to offer a new benefit to the company. I'm going to share this page for free rocket rides, and who's going to know the difference, right? And it's something that, again, governance challenge is potentially huge.
Good question, Casper, asking, will we be able to control which templates are available? We don't have any of those details at this point. They haven't really shared anything in a way that is useful. Let's put it that way.
I was going to say, we don't have the ability to turn on and turn off like the list templates that we have now.
Right.
So my guess would be no, but we don't know the answer.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue here is making just rogue stuff.
Yeah.
Personal stuff.
And we've certainly been making the point over the years as MVPs that when you put things like a lot of templates like this, you need to be able to allow a customer to turn them off, because a product launch at a say nonprofit may make no sense whatsoever. So why would it be cluttered there? It's just it's even if you don't worry about rogue creation, sometimes it just has no context.
Yeah.
So it'd be good to be able to manage those.
I think the other interesting, Julie, were you going to say something? Sorry.
No, I'm just going to, Greg had a comment about users would be able to create site pages, but site templates wouldn't show up if they don't have the ability to create a Microsoft 365 group. That's a pretty good assumption, I would suspect, but that is an assumption.
One would like to think.
Yeah, one would like to think, exactly.
Yeah, but you don't get
we don't have confirmation.
Yeah, you don't get a group with a communication site.
Good point.
True.
Good point. Yeah, and
the thing that one of the things that scared me about this, and this sort of dovetails into the Copilot conversation, is in the blog post that we're linking to here, that create with Copilot button actually let someone type in create an employee onboarding experience I mean, yes, that's probably all vaporware pretty close, but the concept being that someone with very little relationship to your organization's governance would be able to then use AI to create a site is a little.
But what a great demo!
Anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. I don't want to get bogged down.
Yeah, I think watching the keynote, a lot of the times I was going, "Oh, really? Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's neat. Wait a minute." There's like a backside to every one of these things. So we'll have to see how they play out, like usual.
All right, let's move along. So, Mark, do you want to talk a little bit more about this?
This is that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Sorry,
is that thing
I
you
didn't
talked about.
realize.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. So to me, this is actually sort of a big deal. One of the so this is about, Julie talked about it a little bit. This is about being able to send full news posts as emails. One of the biggest benefits that I've been pounding on, making for people is that when you send an email, you get a link to the news post, so that if it's corrected, if it changes, if it whatever, everybody's always getting the most up-to-date version. And this changes that. I get the cognitive load. Nobody likes to click on things, but I worry a little bit that, sending the full text means you're going to have lots of different versions potentially of news posts out there. That said, a lot of people seem to want this. There will be 6 different new templates to choose from, so you won't just have, sort of the send an email option that you have now. You'll actually be able to choose from these 6 templates. I don't have photos of those, but you'll be able to have different look and feel. So monthly newsletter is an example where people seem to think this is a great idea. It's not a live view. So just to reiterate, if somebody changes that news post, you've got the wrong version in your inbox. So,
yeah,
again, as Simpraxians, we're a little worried about this, but understand that obviously a lot of people have asked for this or they wouldn't be doing it.
I think there's 1 or 2 decent use cases for it, newsletters being one, but there's a lot of ways this can go wrong. So this is definitely an area where governance probably comes into play. Greg mentions about my favorite topic, Microsoft 365 dev tenants. Yes, this is definitely going to be critical to testing all of these new things coming out, being able to have a dev tenant and see how this stuff is going to play out. If you don't have one, get one. If you need help getting one, I have a blog. All right, should we move?
Yeah,
how much lead time does that give us? It depends, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes
so
yeah.
I mean,
not much.
I would watch the roadmap items, see when they're slated to come out. If you have a dev tenant,
put it in preview.
Put it in preview mode. Yeah, I mean, I tend to have my dev tenant in preview mode, and then if I'm specifically looking for something, I'll look for the release when it's supposed to come out and see when it hits my tenant. That will give you some element of time, but not months, like weeks versus months.
Yeah.
Are there still 2 different preview modes, like there have been, where it's either
user
the tenant
targeted
is in preview mode or the user? Yeah. So that's, some people may not be aware that different capabilities roll out in different ways. And so sometimes it's a tenant-wide thing and sometimes it's a user-based thing. So depending on what thing you're trying to test, you might need to switch between.
Yeah, I have my dev tenant in tenant mode, and I put myself in the user thing that gets all the user ones, and thereby I hit them all.
Yeah.
All right, so let me move forward. Improvements to personal files in OneDrive, Mark.
Nope. Yeah, so this is the OneDrive roadmap that Sue Hanley and Mark Cashman pushed out. Don't have any pretty pictures, so we just wanted to hit on the different topics. So they're redesigning OneDrive Home again. They're, if any of you felt like Microsoft is trying to make a lot of different home pages for you, a lot of different landing pages, you're right. Clearly, the OneDrive folks want you to land on the OneDrive page as opposed to Office.com or SharePoint Home or whatever. So the new OneDrive Home will be, cleaner and zippier and prettier, which is nice. I mean, and there are some visual improvements. They're also going to the right. Actually, I'll go vertically. So that'll be rolling out soon if you don't already have it. The sharing dialogues are changing across the board. They've gotten feedback over the last. If you remember, they changed the sharing dialogues maybe, I don't know, year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and they're continuing to refine them based on the feedback that they get from people. They claim this is the simplified version. The last one was a simplified version, but it should make it, hopefully, make it easier to make the right decisions when you're creating a new sharing link, So you'll see that starting to roll out soon. This summer, you'll start to see that you can change the color of folders in OneDrive. And I think that one got a huge amount of applause.
It did.
It's the little things, right?
Of applause.
And
yeah.
basically you right click on the folder and you say, I want this one to be purple. And that'll allow you to distinguish between different types of folders if you spend a lot of time in OneDrive. I could see that being helpful, but I don't use OneDrive that way. They're also adding two different views, two new views to OneDrive. One is a meetings view that will show you all of your meetings from across all of the meeting places. And the other is a people view, which will show you all of the people from across all of your people places. Again, feeling a little bit redundant or additive to some of the other places that you might do this, but it's a consolidation of some types of content into that OneDrive UI. Lots of other stuff on this slide, but those are the things that sort of caught my eye. Yep.
I can actually see a really good use case for that. Like, I know for a fact that Julie shared this document with me. So if I go in here and I click on Julie, then I know this is how I'm going to get it. Sure. Meetings, yeah. I mean, I know we talked about it in that meeting 6 months ago, blah, blah, blah. Like that, I'm so on, but I could definitely, like, I get a lot of email and I search for, like, I know Julie emailed me something, so I'll search my inbox for that meeting to know that I can go into Outlook OneDrive. That makes sense to me.
But
I have that
from
problem with Teams chat. I wish it was search was better than Teams chat.
Yeah, exactly.
We chatted about it. Where is it?
From a OneDrive perspective, of course, the meeting view and the people view are very file centric, right? So it does.
Yeah.
I mean, OneDrive is about files, so it does address some of those use cases that you mentioned, but only if you're looking for a file. If Julie happened to type something in that email, that doesn't.
It wouldn't be there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we are running out of time, so let me just quickly hit lists. Lists has some recent updates to its UI, we'll say, but I guess the big message here is that they are updating performance in general. That is their overall goal. There's a lot of stuff on this slide. You can definitely review the lists blog post that goes along with it. One of the other things that as some practitioners we've been a little bit nervous about is that SharePoint lists and lists have always felt a little disconnected, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it. Like when lists came out, it felt similar to that SharePoint home. Hey, I'm going to create a personal page, and lists felt similarly. Like it didn't end up having a container. I guess mentally I could wrap my brain around the need for a personal list more before, but I think there is this new plan that when you click on a SharePoint list in SharePoint, the idea is that it would open up a new tab and you would be moved, that SharePoint list would show up in the lists app instead of in the context of the SharePoint page. And so can somebody remind me, wasn't there a discussion about PowerShell being able to turn that off or turn that on or something?
We don't, that was me maybe
know.
Remembering something we don't know.
Okay, we don't know. I couldn't remember if we decided it could or could not. But at any rate, that feels bad to me in a lot of ways. So, we'll have to see how that goes.
I think we're seeing a lot of this appification of a particular aspect of the platform's capability.
As an old schooler, this feels like, you remember back in the 80s when we were talking about how everything is siloed and we have to bring it together because everything is in their silo and we need to everything needs to be unified. This feels like we're going back to silos. Just want to point that out.
Do we do that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, we did that a lot.
Meanwhile, Elon Musk is building an app that will do everything. So that's the other approach.
So we have a list of resources for all of the blog posts that the content came out of. So feel free to check all those out at your leisure. As far as Ask and Praxis coming up, we are in crazy May conference travel season, and so we are canceling both the May 31st and the June 14th episodes of Ask and Praxis. We will be back June 28th for an Ask and Praxis anything. So absolutely get your questions in by using that SimpInfo Ask and Praxis link. You can submit your anonymous questions there, or you can ping us on Twitter, however you want. We'll try to cover as much as we can. As you can see, our CS Live section is very full. We're going to be, most of us are going to be at the European Collaboration Summit, and Todd right now is at Technorama. Mark and Emily are at Thrive right after ECS. And then we're all, again, except for Todd, going to be at 365 EduCon in DC, middle of June. As always, thank you for coming to Ask and Praxis today, and we will see you June 28th. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, all.
Thank you so much for joining us this week on Ask and Praxis. We love getting your questions or session ideas. You can submit by using the link in About. If you find this helpful, hit that like or subscribe button and share this content with your colleagues.